Welcome to this week's Rogers McHugh YouTube video. In this week's episode, we're going to be talking about the perfect recruitment business model. Let's go! Welcome to this week's Rogers McHugh YouTube video. So in this week's episode, we're going to be talking about the perfect recruitment business model. We're probably taking a little bit of a divergence away from our usual topics, and we're looking now at potential recruiters that are looking at starting their own business. And I feel like it's important that we do reach out and that we do cater to everybody in the market. So if you are in recruitment at the minute and you are considering setting up on your own, what are the 5 things that I think are important in terms of the perfect business model for any recruitment business? So we'll start with number 1, which for me is an element of temp revenue. Any business that's got recurring, repeatable revenue is obviously going to be of value. If you know at the start of the month, before you even start, that you've got enough revenue to pay the bills, to pay the staff, to pay the heating, to pay the lighting, that's obviously a great position to be in. So an element of temp revenue, an angle where you can put bulk temp revenue onto your business would be the first thing that I would say is absolutely essential when it comes to the perfect business model. It keeps the wheels turning, it keeps the light on. However, number 2, you also want a perm offering, and the reason being, you want that lumpy cash. You want the lumpy cash coming in that you can then invest in. If your overheads are 30 grand a month and you're currently doing 35 grand a month repeatable and recurring revenue, it's unlikely, although not impossible, that you're going to go from 35 where you're making a tidy little profit up to 100 grand in a month, where you've then got a lot of cash sloshing about that you can then use to invest in the business, whether that be on office space, whether that be on growing the headcount of the team, whether that be corporate events that you're taking your clients to, whether that be merchandise that you're going out and giving to your clients, whatever it might be. What is that lumpy cash going to be used for? But you need to have it. So if you've got a perm offering, if you can cover your on costs with your recurring repeatable temp revenue, and then you've got that perm offering on the side as well, that then drives the profitability of the business up. It gives you that lumpy cash, because obviously every time you make a placement, it's a good chunky bit of cash that's coming into the business. It enables you to invest or grow quicker, or hold that cash in reserve and hold on to that in case of obviously slower times in months to come. So for me, the perfect business model 1 and 2, temp, recurring, repeatable revenue, but also that perm offering as well. I feel it's vital for the perfect business model that you do both. Number 3, good industry for payment terms. If you have temp revenue, you're going to be paying your candidates up front on a weekly basis. You've then got to turn that into cash coming back in from your clients. If you're on long payment terms, that's going to strangle the life out of the business. You've got to turn that cash as quickly as possible. You've got to get it back into the business. So let's have a look at what good industries are for payment terms, but also low attrition. And what I mean by that is low numbers or low percentages of business going into administration. If you're getting into a business and you're looking at a specific sector and there's a high rate of insolvencies in that sector, the chances are that you're going to be dealing with clients that are going to go into administration. You're going to lose out, whether that be big chunky bits of cash where you temp revenue, where you've paid out for the candidates and then the client that you're working with goes bust, or where you're making perm placements. Now, that isn't quite as bad because there's no upfront cost. However, you're placing candidates into clients, they're going to want to know that you're doing your due diligence. You're placing candidates and you're using your time to place the candidates. It needs to be done in a way where you're going to get the return from it. There's no point working a campaign for a week, putting a week of your time aside, finding a candidate only for the client to go bust before they pay your invoice, and you may lose out on a 5, 10, 15 grand fee, whatever it might be, which is your money for the time that you've put in. So good industry for payment terms, but also low attrition rate. The 4th thing, not saturated. You don't want the market to be too saturated. And obviously in the UK, there's a high number of recruitment agencies. I was reading a stat the other day that there's 850 a month, I think, that are currently being created. So every market's going to be saturated to a degree. However, you don't want one where it's a race to the bottom. You want to be able to command good fees. You want to make sure that if you are placing candidates, the percentage fees that you can charge are high. Why would you not? Because if industry A gives you an average fee of £2,000 and industry B gives you an average placement fee of £5,000, for every candidate that you place here, it's worth 2.5 times this industry here. So do some research. Find out what the markets are that aren't saturated. Find out the markets where you can get good fees. Is it more internationally? Is it in a specific sector in the UK? Go and find those and let's have a look at those. And fifth, the last one. In an ideal world, you want it to be recession proof. The market in the UK, the market in any country is always cyclical, boom and bust. You can't really get away from it. Obviously some of the recessions will be shallower, some of the booms will be shallower, but in essence, the market is cyclical. It will always go up and down. You want to try and make sure that you're in a recession-proof business where when the tough times do come, there's still a demand for your product, there's still a demand for your candidates, there's still a healthy audience, and you can trade your way through that recession. Now, that being said, any industry can be recession-proof to a degree. Any industry can fall victim to a recession to a degree. If you're in a recession-proof industry but you've got a negative attitude and all you read is negative comments in the wider press and you buy into that, you're going to talk yourself into having a tough time. On the flip side of that, if you're not in a recession-proof sector but you go above and beyond, you ignore the talk and the chatter in the wider press and you drive your business forward and you continue to invest and you continue to improve your offering, you can avoid taking part in the recession as much as possible. So there's my 5 points on what I think make the perfect business model in recruitment. I'd be interested to know your thoughts. Most importantly though, what I would say is if you are in recruitment at the minute, don't completely disband all the work that you've done in the past and go and get into a completely different sector. If you're in manufacturing, for instance, and the fees aren't very high and you can't really get any temp revenue bolted onto what you do, so it's only a perm business, I wouldn't necessarily rule it out. You've got to use your expertise. You've got to go to the market that you're most comfortable in. Don't go from recruiting in manufacturing for 20 years and think, right, I know, I'm going to set up a healthcare business because it ticks 3 or 4 of these boxes. Because it's going to take you so much longer to get established. It's going to take you so much longer to get going. I'm confident that any decent recruiter can change sector and can start to build a desk, because recruitment is a process. It's about activity, it's about following the process, and it's about doing the job to the best of your ability. And there are cheat codes and ways in which you can make sure that you succeed in any market. However, you want to give yourself the best chance, and surely the best chance is the market that you're already in and you've got experience in working within. So that's this week's video. It's a little bit of a different one this week. I wanted to give you my thoughts on the perfect recruitment business model. Like I said, be interested to know your thoughts, so put them in the comments. But most importantly, subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get the viewership up. The only way we can do that is by increasing the subscriber base. So subscribe to the channel. You'll be notified every time a new video drops, and we'll see you next week.